Welcome to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey from vision to reality. I'm Kelly Jackson, your guide on this path of self-discovery, transformation, and intentional living. Here, we explore everything from mindset shifts and personal growth to spiritual alignment and entrepreneurship, sharing insights, stories, and actionable wisdom to help you live a life in harmony with your dreams. Every episode will dig into what it means to not only dream big, but to actually consciously create the life you envision. Let's turn your dreams into real life. Welcome back to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. As we stand at the edge of another year, I want to take this moment to honor you for showing up, for dreaming, for doing the work, and for believing in what's possible. Today's episode is about closing chapters, releasing what no longer serves us, and rising into the next version of who we are meant to be. We're going to dive into reflections, rituals, and mindset shifts that will help you start 2025 feeling grounded, aligned, and ready to create magic. Plus, I've got an exciting opportunity to share about the Self-Love Uni group coaching program launching on January 15th. And this is a transformational space to help you step fully into your power and purpose in 2025. So let's get started. Starting with reflection, celebrating wins and lessons. Now, before we look forward, let's take a moment to look back. And remember that reflection isn't about dwelling on what didn't happen. It's about celebrating what did and honoring the lessons that we learned along the way. So I want you to think back to January 1st, 2024. Do you remember? I remember. I know where I was. It was my first time to ever go to South Carolina. And I went to North Carolina also for the first time. But that morning, January 1st, 2024, I watched the first sunset of the year on a beach in Charleston. And it was spectacular. And it was super, super, super freezing cold. And I got in the ocean anyway. And I cold plunged. And it was amazing. And what did you do? How did you start January 1st, 2024? Who were you then? What dreams were stirring in your heart? And now I want you to look at how far you've come. Because that was almost 1 full year ago. Maybe you launched something new. Maybe you set boundaries for the first time. Or maybe you simply survived a tough season. And that's worth celebrating too. So, I got some journal prompts for you. that will help you reflect on this past year, 2024. Number 1, what were my biggest wins this year, personally and professionally? Let me read you these. I'm going to say something and then I'm going to come back to them. Number 2, what challenges did I overcome and what did they teach me? And number 3, who or what supported me the most on my journey? Now, I'm going to ask you to pause the episode if you need to and write these down or revisit them later. Giving yourself space to reflect is one of the most powerful ways to set yourself up for growth. Journaling is a high performance habit. Journaling is one of the best ways you can access the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is where 85 to 90% of everything you do, say, and think comes from the subconscious mind, right? And all those habits that you want to change, they're in the subconscious mind. You've got to move beyond the analytical mind to access the subconscious mind. And journaling is one of the ways that you can do that. And so I'm going to go over these journal prompts one more time. And this time I'm going to share a little bit of my own personal stuff. I'm going to answer these for you. We can talk about what this year has been like for me, what my failures were, what my successes were, right? And perhaps you may find some value in that. So let's start with number 1. What were my biggest wins this year, personally and professionally? And I remember I'm inviting you to ask yourself these questions as well. For me, if I go back to the beginning of the year, starting I did my first solo art show featuring my Mis Sombres collection, which I spoke more in depth about on the very last episode, the one that dropped on December 23rd. And so that was a really big deal. That had been on my vision board for a couple years, to Mis Sombres, to have an art show. And that happened this year. And it was really great. And the funny thing is, initially, I had envisioned doing an art show each quarter this year and releasing 13 of the guides at each one. And it was a plan that starting the year out, I had. And by the end of the year, there would have been 52 of the guides that were out in the public. And then some things happened along the way, and I needed to pivot and I needed to change that plan. And that's okay. And I'm also still really grateful and really proud that I did that first art show in February. That was definitely a big win for me, especially since it had been on the vision board for a couple years. And another thing that was a professional goal, we'll call it, although I feel like that was a little bit of a personal one too. But also, at that same time, this was a big personal deal, a big win this year, is I realized that I was no longer on the celibacy journey, the 7+ year celibacy journey that I chose to embark on. I realized that it had served its purpose. And back in February, I was able to also close the chapter, since we're talking about closing chapters, on that part of my life and open myself up to dating and what comes next after that chapter of my life closed, right? And so that was a really big win this year for me. Another thing was fully stepping into the space of coaching. And that also happened this year. Both the self-love uni and the life and business alignment, which is something for entrepreneurs I'm really passionate about, as I've shared before, because I am an entrepreneur at heart, and I love to work with, support, encourage, coach other entrepreneurs on their journey, because as I've shared before, I know what it feels like to build something but not from an aligned place. And so it feels stressful and it feels hard, and it's my health was taking a hit at the expense of what I was creating before I learned how to do it in an aligned way. And so now that I've done that, I realized that I wanted to turn around and help other entrepreneurs grow their businesses in an aligned way too. So instead of the hustle and grind culture, it's ease and flow. And so that was a really big win for me this year. And I would say another big win for me this year would be the relationships in my life. I was really intentional about putting love and attention and energy into cultivating really healthy relationships, and have been able to experience an abundance of positive relationships in my life. And that intention, it grew. And when you set an intention to improve the quality of the relationships in your life and to attract new quality relationships into your life, when you set that intention and when you align your actions with that intention, that's what happens. And so that has been one of my biggest wins this year, is the relationships in my life. And I'm grateful for that. And I would say I'm going to go ahead and say that my birthday this year was definitely a pretty big win too. And I'm going to say we're going to leave it there. Now, what challenges did I overcome, and what did they teach me? Now remember, I want you to do this as well. For me, I definitely had some learning curves. This podcast, oh wait, did we even mention the podcast? That was a big win. I think, how could I not mention that? This right here, as you know, this has been on the vision board since 2020, and it happened this year. This was a huge win, and this was also a huge challenge. Learning the learning curve, right? And same with stepping into, but I overcame it, and I'm still learning some things, right? And it taught me that I can do it, that it doesn't matter how scary it feels, how unsure I might be about my ability to do it all. If I show up, if I set the intention, if I show up, if I'm really committed to getting it done and to being who I need to be to get it done, then I can do it. And I did do it. And I'm continue to overcome all of the challenges that come my way when it comes to this project, right? I feel like there were certainly learning curves when it came to stepping into the coaching space as well. not just the learning curves about the software and all of those things that need to happen when you're setting up different systems in place, right, that need to be in place. You've got those learning curves. And look, one of the ways to do that, hire coaches. That was one of the things I did this year, was hired a new business coach. And when you don't know what to do, you have to remember that you don't have to do it all alone. There are people out there who want to help you. There are people out there who are qualified to help you. There are people out there who are capable of helping you. Nobody knows you need help, though, if you're not asking for it, looking for it, seeking it out, right? And then you have to believe in yourself enough and love yourself enough to know that you're worth getting the help that you need, right? That you're worth it. And that, like, again, you don't have to do it all yourself, friends. So another thing that I would say would be a challenge that I've had to overcome this year, and what it taught me was with Pongo. And this is one I'm still kind of living inside of. And if you don't know who or what Pongo is, that's our dog. And I'm going to give you a brief little story about Pongo, this amazing dog that has just been such a blessing. And in August of 2 years ago, so in 2022, we being me and my two daughters, we pulled into a parking spot, and there was this little puppy who was not going to live very much longer at all. And we found this little dying puppy, and as soon as we saw him, it was like, is that a puppy? And we stopped the car and get out, and he was not doing well at all. And he was so sweet. And we looked at the girls and said, y'all know we can't keep him. And we all knew, but we also couldn't leave him there. So what we decided was that we're going to take him and we're going to get him well. And we're going to train him to go to the bathroom outside, and to sit, and to stay, and to walk on a leash. And we're going to take him to the vet and get him healthy. And he was very malnourished as well, aside from other medical conditions that he had developed from being on the streets. But we weren't going to keep him. We were going to get him healthy and get him trained and find him his forever home. And we all agreed. And 2 days later, we got news that was the kind of news that turns your world upside down. Totally. For me and my family. And initially, it was like I had just brought this dying puppy into our lives, who was very sick and was not doing well. And less than 48 hours later, I arrive home to receive, again, news that your whole world gets turned upside down. And it was so much. And I just remember being like, oh my, how? 2 days later. And I always like to say, not why is this happening to me, but like, what is this teaching me? And in that moment, it was like, what am I didn't understand how I had just taken this huge responsibility of this dying puppy and then got this news. And obviously, we got the puppy better. And the thing was that it kind of, in some ways, was really switched me into a survival mode state at the time. And so my priority was no longer trying to find this puppy a foster family. It was to take care of my family. And so it then became clear that this dog had come into our lives at the exact right time, because he was there to be the love we needed, the lessons we needed, the support we needed, the everything. You hear this a lot with dogs like this, like the who saved whom thing. And in that time, it was, yes, he was a part of our life because he was supposed to be a part of our life. And there was no question about that. And then at the beginning of this year, that situation kind of settled itself after about a year and a half. And a couple months later, the signs, the feelings, the messages, like intuitive messages, just the signs from God, the universe, source, started to come in louder and clearer. And I was reminded that Pongo was never supposed to be our dog. And I said it in the very beginning, this is a lesson in non-attachment. And then, not without knowing that 2 days later, I was going to get this news, right? And so he was with us. And then this year in 2024, in January, once things kind of settled, I just started realizing that it's time, for he is meant to find his forever family. And so I began the process of seeking a family for him. And I was really, because he has done nothing wrong. This is an amazing boy, an amazing dog, the sweetest. I knew that he has to, he deserves such a good family because he's such a good dog. And I love him so, so much, and also recognized that he is not our dog. His forever family is out there. And so I started kind of vetting, seeking out some people, like intentionally choosing people who I wanted to speak to and share his story, and ask them specifically if they would, if they felt like that he was their dog. And it didn't ever pan out with anyone. And I would say over the course of 8 months, I've spoken with about 10 people who I've put a lot of, these people, they've come to me in some really amazing ways. The ideas of these people, how they've come to me, maybe people I've had in mind for a while, even before asking them, some of them. But it hasn't worked out. And, this has been a challenge. The question, to remind you, is what challenges did I overcome and what did they teach me? And so this is one that I've been working with all year. I know that letting go and practicing non-attachment is what I'm being called to do. And it's a bit perplexing because he's still with us in our family. And so what I had to acknowledge over the last couple weeks is that at this point, I'm going to need to take a different approach than the approach I have been taking. And, there have been so many tears with this, and he's so amazing and he's special, and I love and care about him, as do the other members of our family that live there with him. And it's also something I'm being called to do. He's not our dog. I've always known this. I'm so grateful we've gotten 2.5 years with him. He turns 3 on January 11th. And I also know that this is a challenge that I am still overcoming. And it's taught me a lot about all kinds of things, about non-attachment, about follow-through, about doing what you said you're going to do, about love, about compassion, about trust, about intuition, about companionship, about the unconditional love of a dog. Y'all, he's so sweet. And I love him so much. And I also have to let him go. And I know you hear me being emotional right now, and that's okay. This has definitely been a huge challenge. It started the day we found him, but it's been also one of the greatest loves of my life. He's such a sweet boy. And I know that wherever he ends up, they are very lucky to have him in their life. So, the third question is, who or what supported me the most on my journey this year? And I want you to reflect on that as well. And for me, if I had to say a who, my family, without a doubt. They are always my biggest supporters. And there are certainly a handful of key people in my life, relationships that I am forever grateful for. And if I had to say what supported me the most on my journey this year, without question, my vision boards. Without question. I look at them every single day. They are the woman, they are a representation of the woman I am becoming, what I am building, and every day I look at those to keep me going. And so 100%, guys, vision boards, yes to vision boards, okay? So let's go on to release and just letting go of what no longer serves you. Now that we've reflected, right, we're going to talk about release. Because closing chapters isn't just about celebrating, which it is. It's also about clearing space. What are you ready to let go of? Because we got to clear space to make room for something new to enter, right? So what are you ready to let go of? Maybe it's self-doubt. Maybe it's perfectionism. Maybe it's an old story that says you're not enough or you're too much. Whatever it is, I want you to know this. You do not have to carry it with you into the new year. You get to choose what stays and what goes. You get to choose that. So, I've got some journal prompts that I want to share with you for the release and letting go of what no longer serves you. Number 1, what habits, beliefs, or patterns am I ready to release? And for instance, maybe one of your habits is checking your phone as soon as you wake up in the morning. And if you do that, I want you to release that habit. Every single one of you. Do not check in with the world outside of you before you check in with the world inside of you. Ever. All right? Maybe it's the belief, like I said, that you're too much or you're not enough. Release that. And maybe it's a pattern, something that you recognize, that you date somebody, break up, you're right back out there dating somebody else. Right? It's like a pattern. Like you can't be alone. If that's, we got to release that too. Like, what are your things? What habits, beliefs, or patterns are you ready to release? Now, you got to reflect on them before you can release them. So you got to do that other work we talked about first. And then number 2, what fears or doubts no longer have a place in my story? Because we got to release these to clear space. Because remember, this is about clearing space. Because those fears and doubts, they're taking up space. And you need that space to allow all this new abundance, the new ideas, the new downloads, the new friendships, the new relationships, all of this stuff that you want to allow to come into your life, the new habits. You got to release the old ones first, okay? And then number 3, how can I create space for what truly matters in 2025? And maybe it's time blocking. And maybe it's by saying no to the things that aren't a full body yes. If it's not a full body yes, then it's a no. Right? So how can you create space for what truly matters in 2025? Now, I want to walk you through a short visualization. Okay? So take a little moment. I don't know where you're at, what you're doing, but take a little minute and relax. Now I want you to, if you feel so inclined, close your eyes. If you're driving, do not close your eyes. Okay? So take a minute and take a deep breath. Let it go. And I want you to imagine yourself packing up everything that no longer serves you into a box. That belief, put it in the box. That habit, put it in the box. That person, put it in the box. That complaint, put it in the box. Everything no longer serves you. Put it in the box. And I want you to see yourself placing the box on a shelf. Or, even better, letting it float away. Now breathe deeply and feel the weight lift. You let it go. Friends, release is a practice. It is something that you can come back to anytime you feel stuck. So don't be afraid to give yourself grace as you let go. Okay? Just keep coming back to it and keep breathing into it and keep releasing it and letting it go and letting it go and letting it go and letting it float away. Okay? Now we've created space. And now it is time to rise, stepping in to the next version of you. Okay? And this is the fun part, rising into your next level self. The version of you that is bold, that is aligned, and unstoppable. Okay? I want you to picture her or him or them. What do they look like? How do they move through the world? What choices do they make? Because the truth is, that version of you already exists inside of you. It's just waiting for you to say yes. And that is what 2025 is all about. Saying yes to you. Sometimes that version of you, yes, it already exists inside of you. It's waiting for you to give yourself permission to be seen, to be heard. And that can feel scary, and I get it. However, you don't have to wait on anybody else to give you that permission. What I want you to hear and what I'm telling you right now is you can give yourself that permission. To be seen, to be heard, to be unstoppable, to be bold. Okay? So, what can you do? What are some steps you can take to rise into that next level self? You can create a vision for your year and ask yourself, what do I want to feel? What do I want to create? What do I want to experience in 2025? And set one bold goal that stretches you and excites you. At least one. Because I know you know this. Nothing grows inside of a comfort zone, right? Like growth happens outside of your comfort zone. So you got to set a bold goal that's going to stretch you. It's going to excite you. It's going to challenge you. Okay? And then surround yourself with people and tools that will support your growth. If your friend group is like into partying every weekend, it's just kind of what you do. You tailgate on the weekends, you go out every Friday night, the Wednesday night, midweek drinking party, like whatever. I don't know. If that's the scene and you're really recognizing that like this isn't aligned with the dreams I have for myself, guys, you're being called to surround yourself with different people, different groups, maybe that are more aligned with the goals that you have for yourself. You can't be afraid to change. even though maybe that's what you've always done in the past. That doesn't mean that it's who you have to be in the future, if it's not who you want to be in the future. You have a lot more autonomy than you realize. And sometimes our comfort zones, it's what's familiar. It's what we know. And it can feel scary to change because especially the people who knew us to be one way, if they are still that way and they see us shifting, changing, evolving, doing new things, maybe not the things that we used to do with them, that can feel a little intimidating. And sometimes people may want to say things or do things to make you feel like there's something wrong with you because you're not still doing all the same old things. But here's the deal, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. You're going to keep getting what you're getting. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. And that might mean leaving behind some old patterns, habits, people, places, right? A lifestyle that will not support your growth. And that can feel scary. I get it. Don't focus on what feels scary about that. Focus on or have you heard, rather than focus on what you're going to be losing, shift your focus to what it is you're going to be gaining, right? Not what you're giving up, but what you're gaining. So I want to just remind you that change can feel scary. Letting go can feel scary. I get it. It can. And you're not alone. And it's also necessary. Okay? I hope today's episode, I kept it kind of brief, right? I hope today's episode has given you the space and inspiration that you need to close this chapter with gratitude and step into the next one with courage. Remember, you, the one listening right now, yes, you marvelous, amazing, wonderful soul, you are the author of your story. And 2025, not only are you the author, you are the main character, the director. 2025 is waiting for you to write this next beautiful chapter. And if you're ready to rise and you want support along the way, I want to invite you to check out Self Love Uni, which starts on January 15th. I would love to see you there. It's a group coaching container. We're going to be hanging out together for 7 weeks. And each week, we're going to dive deep into another really powerful theme that is going to support you and give you the tools and surround you with the people that will support you and your growth, your personal growth, your professional growth, and you stepping into your power in 2025. I'm going to put some more about it in the show notes as per the norm. And if you have any questions, guys, reach out. I'm reachable. And I love speaking with you. And please enjoy, celebrate 2025, bring in the new year, celebrate everything that has been amazing about 2024. And I'm going to be back here the first week of January, and we're going to be talking about the vision. And join me for that one because, but for right now, before we get to the vision, we got to clear space and we got to reset and we got to release so that we can rise. That's what today's about. So if you didn't already pause as we were going and write down those journal prompts, go back and do it. Do it right now. And I love you guys. Happy New Year. Thank you for tuning in to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful within you. Remember, every step you take towards your vision counts, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a second to hit that subscribe button or leave a review. That would be amazing. Or share the podcast with someone who's ready to bring their dreams into reality too. And if you're looking to dive deeper, connect with me on social media at Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, or at BE_what you want. Or visit dreameditthenreallifedit.us for more resources on aligning your life, business, and dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep manifesting your dreams into real life. Love you, friends.